You have a line in your book which is precious to me. You say, "quote There's something about waking up every morning to your life in a box that makes you want to learn to be more than you were when you went to sleep the night before." And that's end quote. That's should be all of our missions in life, I think, to some extent. Otherwise, we're just no different from a horse dragging a cart around all day. Is If we want to express what's human in ourselves, we want to be more the next day than we were the night before when we lay down. It's hard to do.
Yeah.
And books, obviously, recent Econ Talk episode you haven't heard yet, Dwayne, because it hasn't aired yet, but with Zena Hitz on her book, Lost in Thought. And it's, her book is a defense really of that there's something essentially human about communing with authors dead and alive, especially dead ones, though, because you can't talk to them otherwise. and you can have that conversation that the horse can't have. So there's something deeply transformative about it if you let it do its work.
I think one of the things that I've admired about Econ Talk, and I can't even really remember how I started listening to it, but one of the things I really admire about it is it's like you engage with books and you engage with authors about their books, but then frequently the authors, the best of them, talk about the books that they've read and the books that fueled their work. Because I do think what prison taught me, maybe, that I really didn't know before, is that it's almost like a lineage from one book to the next, but then it's a shadow lineage too. And so it would always be interesting. And so somebody would be like, "Are you reading Harry Potter?" I'd be like, "Nah, I've read Tolkien. I'm good. I'm not going to read that." And it would be wild though, the way that I would get introduced to books by people who I wouldn't expect to be reading certain things. And then those introductions became also a part of the shadow lineage. And so I know the dude that introduced me to Tolkien. And he was just like, young dude locked up for shooting somebody. I think he was smart, but he wasn't like I'm going to college or, he just liked books. He liked to talk about books. And the wild thing is he was like, "Oh, we were talking about The White Ninja. I'm in the hole." And I'm talking about The White Ninja by, I can't remember the guy who wrote it, but it was in a vein of books that's like Shibumi by this cat Trevanian, and they kind of like thrillers, right?
Yeah.
And I was talking about this book called The White Ninja, which, one of the things that pulled me to these books was it really ended up being about what it meant to be moral. Like at the end of the day, that's just what the book is. And it's wild that you got all of these cats in prison that's really reading books that's making arguments about what it is to be moral and what it is to sacrifice something on principle. And so I'm yelling back and forth, arguing about this book. And the guy that sat next to me was like, "I think you would like Tolkien." And it's like, what? This is like 17 different continents away, and I read Tolkien and I'm fascinated by it. And then me and this guy ended up being in a cell together, and he just wouldn't be the person that I would have typecast to recommend Tolkien to me. And so what I learned is that, these books have a lineage based on the authors that the books are communicating with and the authors that the books that shape the authors of the books, right? But it's also this shadow lineage where it's like, who introduced you to what? And when you begin to realize that, I don't know, man, it's like democratic. It's like reading is probably one of the more democratic things that we could do. And that's why I think literacy is so important.